welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be repotting my Dendrobium Speciosum, which has been outside all winter. I brought it in a couple of weeks ago because we were getting some colder weather and we were going to get sort of -2, -3 degrees Celsius, and I was just a little bit conscious that the clay media might be staying a little bit colder than that, and I didn't want it to get any frost damage on the leaves. So I brought it in, I put it in my kind of cooler section with the masdevallias, but that seems to be enough to have triggered a new growth. So it's now in growing mode, so we're going to start it spring early. So this is, I mean, my masdevallia section hasn't been overly warm, but obviously a lot warmer than the 0-2 degrees that it's been getting outside all winter. So Speciosum is quite a broadly distributed orchid. I think similar to the Kingianum, some varieties need less of a rest than others. They can take very low temperatures, which is why I left it out all winter. I've got some spotting on the leaves just from dirt, so I'm going to clean the leaves up. You can see that that's just rubbing off. It's just where it's been in the greenhouse. I also found, at the end of summer, I found a couple of snails in the pot. This orchid has received pretty much no water all winter. The bulbs haven't shriveled at all, it just shut down in the cooler temperatures. But now that the weather has warmed up a bit, I think we can kind of resume normal watering, especially since we've now got a new growth and new roots starting. I'm going to take it out of the pot and just show you the new growth there. You see a little bit of happy sap where I started watering once it started the new growth. And you see a lot of efflorescence on, I think, a little bit of mould maybe on the LECA where it's been outside. And there's a new little root just in there. So it's resumed growth, so we want to now start feeding it and watering it as normal. And along with that, it needs a repot, so now is the perfect time to do it. It's been in a self-watering pot with LECA for about a year now. Produced a nice fat new growth for me last year. So this is the variety, it's a hybrid between two different varieties of Speciosum. I'll try and, because I've got an eBay listing for this, I bought it from Spysotic quite a long time ago, but I will track that down and tell you what that variety is. And the other one is Speciosum intervarietal Patsy. I'm going to take it out of its pot and take a look at it. Going to be reusing the same LECA, and I will flush through before use. I am going to take the top layer off because it's got moss growing in there, so we don't actually want that. That shows you how kind of humid it's been in my greenhouse all winter. The moss is growing on the LECA. I'll try and get that moss off because I don't really want it in my pot. Maybe it'll be easier once it's out of the pot. So what I'll do is boil the LECA off before I reuse it. You can see that we've got new root tips going down there where it started producing new roots already, and I think that's from the older bulb, not the newer one. Quite a lot of new roots in there. This one even like in quite deep in the media. So it's kind of waking up after its winter rest. I would like to get off that moss if possible. So I'm just going to try and grab some tweezers to try and remove that moss there. So I've not been overly successful with removing this moss from the roots, and quite honestly I don't want to hassle with it, like it's not going to do any harm, so it's fine. So I'm just going to pop my Speciosum into its new pot. The pot I've chosen for it is a clear 18.5 centimetre pot, and they're kind of shaped like that. So in and outer mask, it fits in. This isn't going to be a self-watering pot because there is no gap at the bottom, it just fits nicely, and I don't know if you can see, there's a gap in between the mask and the outer, so the outer will hold a little bit more water than just the inner pot alone. So this will be like semi-hydro but in a pot. And the Speciosum can be epiphytic or lithophytic, so it really took off to semi-hydro very well. Okay, so I filled kind of the bottom half of the pot with just LECA, and then I'm going to introduce some pumice into the mix as well to hold on to a bit more moisture. Okay, so the Speciosum is in its new pot. I'm not entirely sure whether I should do a top layer or not because it's actually got extremely resilient roots. It never had an issue with the dry top layer of LECA. But I think I might just, because it does have relatively fine roots, so I don't think that having the horticultural grit on top is going to cause any issues with stopping the roots getting in like it might for very thick root orchids. So I'm just going to add a top layer of the horticultural grit, which helps to retain a little bit more moisture in the pot, and this is the small size horticultural grit. I do have a different size as well that I use for larger rooted orchids. The Speciosum can be extremely thirsty when it's actively growing, so it really likes a moisture retentive mix, yet obviously it does still need aeration. I found that Australian lithophytic orchids really take off in semi-hydro quite often. Just going to clean off the leaves now with a diluted lemon juice solution, and like I said, when it's actively growing it needs huge amounts of water and fertiliser, so what I'll probably do in summer is almost fill this outer mask probably like halfway up with water to keep it going. I may put this outside in the greenhouse again once the weather warms up, but for now I'm going to pop it into my orchid room because we've got a new growth started very early in the year, so I'm going to try and push that on and maybe get 2 growths this year. So the Speciosum can take pretty much full sun in summer, and I believe to induce blooming it needs brighter, cooler winters. So I kind of thought bringing it in and putting it in my Masdevallia section would be quite good because then it has artificial light, but obviously that's triggered new growth. So I very much doubt it will bloom for me. I've also been told that this is far too small to expect a Speciosum to bloom. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but either way, I doubt it'll bloom. In summer I was very proactive with spraying this down with kind of insect treatments and neem oil because obviously it was living outside. It never seemed to get any pests though that I noticed. I was spraying it down regularly and checking regularly because I was worried that it would get things like spider mites and that sort of thing, thrips living outside, but it never seemed to get any pests really. The only thing I found was a couple of odd snails in a pot at one point, but I don't think they had a munch because I never found munched roots. And that is my Dendrobium Speciosum all repotted. What I'll now do is flush through the pot to remove any dust or residues that might not have been fully washed out by my LECA and pumice washes, and just flush through the pot anyway, and then I'll top it back up with nutrient and fertiliser solution, and I will now pop this into my orchid grow room rather than being downstairs in a cooler section because it started a new growth, so really we want to get as much size on this new growth as possible before the end of the season. So putting it into a warm, bright place and giving it lots of nutrients and fertiliser now should definitely help to maybe get, I'm hoping maybe to get multiple growths this season. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we've started off nice and early, so that's a good positive start. Thanks so much for watching my repot today. I hope it's been useful and that you've enjoyed the video. And if you did, then don't forget to give it a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular updates. And I will see you guys later. Bye!